What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the man, the myth, the legend, RizGod, Riz God, baby, bringing you the 8th episode of the greatest, hottest, most active podcast out there. That's the RizPod, the RizPod, baby, and welcoming another great panel today is... Actually, I kind of fucked that up. Anyways, whatever. Today, I got 3 great guests. If you guys tuned into the pod last week, it's 3 people that I know you guys all anticipated. But before we get into the guests, we're talking first half NBA awards. The NBA season is wrapping to the second half of the season. But let's talk about who were the stars in the first half. But let's get into the guests. Bringing on first from the Memphis Grizzlies, the most hated man on the planet, Dylan Brooks, a.k.a. Gabby Franklin. Gabby, welcome back. How are we doing?
Thank you. I'm so excited to be back again. This time it's basketball.
Yes, talking NBA. Adding the second person to this stacked panel is the guy down in Phoenix that we continuously all hate on the podcast, and that's Devin Booker, a.k.a. Michael Brady. Michael, how are we doing?
What's up, everyone? I'm doing good. Ready to fire off. I love Devin Booker, so this is no, I'm excited to be here. I haven't done NBA yet. Been doing NFL the first 2 times, so I'm ready to go.
And Michael's is a first in the RizPod and being the third, or making his 3rd appearance. So welcome back for the 3rd time. And closing it out is someone that me and Gabby have met in person, and it's the most hated man in Los Angeles and in Houston and probably in Washington. And that's John Wall, a.k.a. Mitchell Hammond. Mitch, how are we doing?
I'm doing great. I can't wait. Just a spoiler alert, I will be talking about John Wall being the first half MVP here in a little bit. So just a spoiler alert for everyone out there.
And I'm so excited to see how you can defend that, because he is probably out in Houston just getting turned the fuck up. Anyways, to continue or to kind of start off the pod, obviously, we're talking NBA basketball. This is a first for all of you guys on the pod, going from football over to NBA. I'm really excited to have you guys. And I'm really excited to talk basketball. But what better way to start off the first half NBA award show than talking about the young bucks in the league? And that's the rookie of the year. And really, to honestly, before we get started, I'll kind of give it off to Gabby first. The rookie of the year race has been pretty, I feel like, easy to tell this season so far. But I'm going to do something a little different with my pick and be a little different. But before I get into my pick, Gabby, I'll let you take it away. Who do you have as your first half rookie of the year?
So I was between 2 people for this one, and I kind of basically just narrowed it down to the person I think that will have the best future in the NBA. The other person I think is going to be like a star eventually too. But I was between Jaden Ivey and Benedict Mathurin. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah, so I ended up picking him. I just think he's been really fun to watch. He's a very explosive player. He's a knockdown shooter, which is like, I feel like something that's hard to come by, especially your first year in the league. And not only can he shoot well, but he can play off the ball as well. I mean, the Pacers kind of suck, but he's been fun to watch, and that's why I picked as my rookie of the year.
No, better. I think that's a great pick. I mean, he came into the league saying that LeBron has to worry about guarding him, and he's been proven to be pretty good.
Like, he's literally just a walking bucket. Like, I don't know about his rebounding or like, I don't think he really passes the ball that much, but the guy can just score, and like, he's gonna be a consistent 20-point a game scorer in the NBA throughout his career. Like, he just scores.
Yeah, it's nuts because he's coming off the bench too. It's not like he starts. He's coming off the bench for Indiana of all teams, and he's scoring like 17, 18 points. So that's a good shout. Yeah, I'll kind of take it away with my pick. I also was in between 2 people. I was obviously the boring pick, the snooze, Paolo Banchero. Obviously, the guy's a stud. He looks like he's been in the NBA for 10 years, but I'm not going to pick him for my first half NBA rookie of the year because everybody probably picked him. I'm actually going to pick the Utah big man and Walker Kessler. I think Walker Kessler is having a very underrated first half of the season. He didn't even start to the beginning of the season, and now he's starting. He's only averaging about 8 points, 9 points, and 8 rebounds. But the guy's averaging 2.2 blocks, one of the best shot blockers in the league as a rookie. And what I love about his game is Utah got rid of Rudy Gobert, who's probably one of the most overrated players in the league, to Minnesota for so many picks for this guy. And this guy is honestly putting up Rudy Gobert numbers. And the fact that Utah is actually okay, like they're obviously not great, but they're in the playoff picture. Banchero's playing for the Magic, who stink. Like even Benedict Mathurin, who was a great shout out, is playing for a team that's not competing. Like Walker Kessler's in a playoff run right now, and he's putting up great numbers. He has like 7 games with 14 rebounds or more, 3 20-plus games for a big man. I think he deserves some love, and that's why he's my first half.
I could be wrong, but I think he was in that trade, right, for Rudy Gobert. Like I think Kessler was involved in the whole.
Yeah. He was drafted by Minnesota, and they got him from the Rudy Gobert trade. Yeah, you're right.
So I mean, if when you factor in the salary and everything, like you can make an argument rather just have Kessler over Rudy Gobert. Anyway.
Right.
Kessler is able to do the things that Rudy can do, and do it for a 30th of the price. Yeah, he's great.
To be honest, anybody for Rudy Gobert's price was worth it because the Timberwolves literally gave up their entire franchise for the next 10 years for Rudy Gobert, which is so silly.
And look where it got him.
Yep. Anthony Edwards and Mike Conley as your superstars, which is kind of sad, but great spot for Utah with Walker Kessler.
Yeah.
Karl Anthony Towns up there, by the way.
Oh, Lord.
That's true, but Karl Anthony Towns, he's just, he's in Cancun right now with his injuries, so cat doing cat things. But with that being said, Michael, if you want to kind of give your picks, maybe your thoughts on Benedict or Walker Kessler.
Yeah, I'll give some thoughts. So I think to start off, I think with Benedict Mathurin, I think he's a super talented scorer. I remember when he was in the draft, going in the NBA draft, I was like, whoever gets him is getting a really good guard. I thought he was better than Ivy coming out, and him with Halliburton on the Pacers, like that is just going to be an electric duo for a very long time. So I really do like that pick. And then with Walker Kessler, I do have something to say, but first I want to say, for me, Paolo Banchero, first of all, I don't understand how he wasn't the first pick in the NBA draft. I remember being like, they're overlooking this guy right now. Like he looks like he's the complete package. He's from Seattle, so I've grown up I knew who he was, and he was in high school. And he's always just been the man. And this season, he's put up some great numbers, and I really think he's a very talented player, honestly. But my rookie of the year first half is actually the same as yours, Rizzo. I went with Walker Kessler, Walker Texas Ranger, the man, the myth, the legend, Walker. So everything you said, I mean, you kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but what I will say is I feel like not only do I agree with everything you said, but like he's the first rookie since 2014 to put up a 20-20 game, and he's the first rookie since 2018 to get 7 blocks in a game. And what I really like about him is the fact that, like I think Mitchell said, like they're not even paying Rudy Gobert. He's literally replacing them. And I feel like that is just a huge testament to him. I mean, he was an afterthought in the trade. They got 4 first-rounders, a pick swap, Jared Vanderbilt, Beverly, Beasley. No one thought about Walker Kessler. I mean, he's on absolute fire. And I think he is so important to that team. And it really has shown with their season so far. And that's why I like him more than someone like Mathurin or someone like Banchero, because he's actually on a winning team. They're actually exceeding expectations. I don't like voting people for awards when I can avoid it when they're on a team that's one of the worst teams in the NBA, because I think that there's something to say about having a winning impact, and Walker Kessler really does have that. So I totally agree with you. That was my pick as well, and I don't think it'll happen, but I think he's been just really fun to watch this season.
Yeah, and to agree with you, just because we were kind of both on the same page, I think Walker Kessler, and the reason why I think you picked him as well, is he deserves to get some flowers. A lot of the media isn't really always in favor of a defensive big man like Walker Kessler in terms of like rookie of the year voting. So I feel like what better way to give him his flowers than on the RizPod. And just to make a comment on the Banchero, obviously it's not a big deal, but Banchero actually did go first to the Magic.
Why did I think it was Jabari Smith? Yeah, my bad.
And Jabari Smith is garbage, but yeah, but the Magic, sorry, he just sucks. But yeah, no, Banchero obviously has been killing it, but I think it's just a boring pick to go with. But I'm glad that you went with Walker Kessler.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like Banchero is like the sexy pick in people voting for the award in general, because he's gonna be the guy. Like, I mean, he plays like someone that's going to be a superstar. I don't think Walker Kessler is going to be a superstar, but I think his impact this season is the most deserving. And I feel like his overall just like he's just very underrated. And I think, like you said, just putting some respect on his name is big time.
And I think what I like about him is that he's underrated. Like, he might be one of those, like, sneaky stars in the next few years that, like, people are like, where did he come? Like, who is he kind of thing? Just because he has been so, like, under the radar in, like, the media and stuff this year. And I just think that's fun. Like, he doesn't look like an NBA star just to, like, the blind eye, you know? I mean, he's huge, but, like.
I agree. He's like a rootable guy, just plays the right brand of basketball. He's not flashy. He's like Rudy Gobert, but literally like so much better at the price that they got him for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go ahead, I guess, and go with mine. So, I mean, Paolo's going to win. He's
Right.
Rookies in points. He's fourth in rebounds, third assists. Like he's going to win. The Magic have already surpassed their win total from last year, which I know was terrible to begin with, but they have improved with him and Franz, but he's not my rookie of the year. Benedict's not my rookie of the year. Walker Kessler's not my rookie of the year. My rookie of the year is from the Oklahoma City Thunder, the 12th pick out of Santa Clara, Jalen Williams. And not the wrong Jalen Williams, but the Jalen Jalen Williams, because I do have two of them there. But what he has been able to do, and I think what separates him, I think, from the rest of this group is – which I kind of agree with Walker Kessler a bit, is his improvement throughout the season has been like incredible to watch. Like Paolo and Benedict started off just being buckets right from the jump, and they've kind of been stagnant. Like I really haven't seen them improve much. If anything, I feel like Paolo's maybe dipped a bit since the beginning of the year. But Jalen Williams, I think he's averaging about 12 a game right now. In the past month, I think he's averaging like 18 a game for OKC. He's leading the rookies in steals. And I think he's just part of a fun nucleus with him, SGA, Giddey, Chet, whenever they're healthy. That's really going to take the West by storm. But I think Jalen Williams, he does all the intangibles. He's a great defender. He can score. That's why he would be my rookie of the year.
It's funny you say that. Oh, sorry, Rizzo.
Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
I was going to say, every time I put on an OKC Thunder game, there's 3 different Jay Williams on their team, and I have no idea what Jalen. And then there's 2 Jalen's. So I never know who I'm looking at. But I do agree. I did look more into his actual impact on the team, and he's very underrated. I think he was a sensational pick by OKC. And like you said, I think they have such a good, young, bright future. Shy, exactly, like just coming out and being like a superstar in the league. Like him, and then you get someone like Jalen Williams that just kind of like going to be a great role player. I feel like it's really just it's going to serve them very well in the long term.
It's so interesting that you picked Jalen Williams because it's so funny. Like seeing him out of the draft, it's like, all right, this guy went to a small school. He's not really going to be anybody. And like he really wasn't anything in the first half of the season. I don't want to say first half, but like the first half of the season. Right. Really? He just didn't really do much. And then obviously OKC's in that push to be in the play-in. And he's been playing a lot more. And like you said, he's been averaging around 15 points. He's a great perimeter defender. And what makes him so great, and I think it's so great that we've done this so far in the segment, is we're really giving the flowers to people that aren't getting flowers. Like there's nobody in the media talking about Jalen Williams. And if they are, it's a joke between which Jalen Williams is like the Jalen Williams we're talking about. So, and I believe I can't even say that we're talking about Afro Jalen Williams because I think they both have Afros.
They do.
But the one, so I know which one you're talking about. But I think he's done well for the Thunder. I think he's a great glue guy. He kind of gives me like almost like Luol Deng vibes. The reason why I think about Luol Deng.
Deng reference in 2 pods. What is happening?
And the only reason why is because I talked about Luol Deng in the last podcast, and he's been stuck in my head recently. But Luol Deng was a good guy that could get you 15, 18 points. He's going to play a shit ton of minutes. He's going to be a good perimeter defender. And that's what Jalen Williams is for Josh Giddey and the OKC Thunder and Shy and all of them. So I think it's a good shout out.
Yep, I agree.
I have a question before we move on.
Yeah.
If we were all actually voting for the award right now, would you pick your person or would you pick Banchero? Like if you were like actually picking, because like, I feel like we all avoided Banchero, and I feel like he is also probably the correct pick.
hard to ignore how, and I'll be the first to admit, when he was drafted first overall, I was not a huge believer in him. He has stepped in. He's like, I forget who said it already, but it looks like he's played for 10 years already. I think what he's able to do, even in a small market team that doesn't get a lot of love, and they have a young nucleus as well, but they win games. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they're there. But yeah, I think Paolo would get my pick if I were a voter.
Yeah, I think same. I think the thing about him specifically is it's going to be so interesting to see how they grow as a team. Like I think are they like the third youngest team or something in the NBA? Like, and they like Franz, Jalen, like they're all good. So it's just going to be really interesting to see how they can like build and grow as a team together, and just see where they go in the next few years, I think.
Yeah, and they need to get Bobo some more minutes. Yeah, I love Bobo. He's my favorite player in the NBA.
I love Bobo too.
Listen, I mean, you can make a case for Bobo being one of the most improved players in the league, but that's for when we get there. But I also would give it to Banchero. I think he's like the runaway favorite. I think he's gone to Orlando, already past their win total, like Mitch was saying. I just think he looks like a veteran out there. The guy's body is built for the NBA. He came in the league in his first week, dropping 20, like 3 straight. Like the guy, he's special. I think he's going to be the best player in this draft class. So I would vote for Banchero, but I just think he's gotten all the flowers already. Why not show some love to the others?
Yeah. And I think that totally makes sense. Like he wasn't, when you get the number 1 pick, like you're usually going to be like the sexy, like odds-on favorite to win. And I think he's really backed it up. I'd like Walker Kessler if I was voting, just because I feel like there's something to say about having a winning impact, and I really value that. And it's not really against Banchero because it's not his fault that his team kind of sucks, but everybody thought Utah was going to suck, and I feel like he's been really impactful for them. So just the winning aspect of that, I'd probably vote for him, but it's an individual award. And I think Banchero probably is the right vote for it. It probably makes the most sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I also agree. And kind of segueing over, Michael, I'm going to kind of let you take the role just because you're talking about someone playing really well, deserving a lot of minutes. There's been a couple of great players in the league that have improved from what they were last season. And that's the most improved player. Who do you have as your NBA first half most improved player?
Yeah, you know what? Like, if Bobo had kept playing the way he hasn't been getting minutes, so it's been tough. Like, if he had been getting the minutes he was getting the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks of the season, like he was going off, and they stopped playing him when Jonathan Isaac came back. So can't vote for Bobo, unfortunately. I think there's a lot of great options with this. Like, I think Shai, for example, he's such an elite player now. So his jump has been from like all-star to like superstar, and that's been really awesome to see. And then same with Markkanen, obviously. He's jumped from like a role player to an all-star level player. But for me, I picked Jalen Brunson. I think the reason why, I've always loved Jalen Brunson's game. When he was with Luka, I thought he was super underrated. And I thought when he got paid by the Knicks and everyone's like, oh, they overpaid for him. I was like, I don't know. Like, I think if he had the opportunity to really be the guy, I could see him stepping into that role. And I think he's honestly just like taken that and gone one step further and really shown that he's like he's an all-star caliber, like he can lead a team that has a lot of good talent around him, and they can win some playoff series. And the fact that they are I think the 5 seed right now in the East, and the fact that he's playing the way he is and able to lead a team the way he is, I just really like him. I think he's one of those guys where he can work with everybody around him and make them better. And he has a track record of winning, which I really like, even going back to college for Villanova. I feel like he's just someone that I really liked coming into the season, and I was excited to see what he'd do, and he's just blown me out of the water, and I think he deserves a ton of props. So I'd be voting for Jalen Brunson.
I do want to make a comment on that too, because I guess I'll go with my most improved as well. Jalen Brunson, obviously being a Knicks fan, I've seen a lot of the guy this season, and he's really made New York relevant. I mean, I can't thank him enough to what he's done in switching it in New York from being a bum team to a team that can win every single night. And that's because of Jalen Brunson. I don't care what people say about Julius Randle. Julius Randle is not the reason why the Knicks are as good as they are. Jalen Brunson should have been an all-star because that man has been a stud. 40-point games, 30-point games. The guy's averaging like 28 points in like the last 2 months. But
he's so clutch too.
He's clutch. He's shifty. He can do it all. But unfortunately, he's not my most improved because you touched up on it. I was between him, SGA, and Lauri Markkanen. And I think when you look at those three, SGA was an all-star to a superstar. He had a 10-point jump in points per game, which is huge. But I always kind of cringe when they give the most improved to someone that was already good. Like Ja Morant won it last year and everyone knew like Ja was good. Why is he winning it? So to me, it's like SGA just made that leap that he should have. Jalen Brunson is another one where I didn't give it to him because it's like in Dallas, he was good. He just needed the opportunity. He got the opportunity at the Knicks and he's proven himself. My most improved's got to be Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen to me has made such a huge leap from being a role player to being, an afterthought to now being such a big player in this league, being an all-star, being one of the best power forwards in the league. The guy's averaging 25 points a game, almost 9 rebounds and 2 assists. He's got 2 40-point games, so many 30-point games. And I look at Lauri Markkanen's career. He was with Chicago. People were calling him like the next Porzingis, the next Dirk Nowitzki, just because he was this European big man. Didn't really get that much love in Chicago. They traded him to Cleveland. He did good in Cleveland. He did good. He was averaging 12, 13 points, but he wasn't a star. And then they say, let's go get Donovan Mitchell. Here's Lauri Markkanen. We don't need him anymore. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell's better than Lauri, but Lauri took such a huge leap, and he's playing good basketball. Obviously, Jalen Brunson and the Knicks are in the playoff contention. Shai is still in the 13th seed, but Lauri Markkanen's leading the Jazz into that play-in, playoff seeds. And I just think what he's doing for Utah and keeping them relevant is insane. His leap in points per game and all his stats have nearly doubled in points, rebounds, and assists. And he's shooting the ball at an efficient clip. So to me, I love Jalen Brunson. I love Shai, but I got to give the flowers to Lauri because nobody has made such a big leap from a role player to a star, I think, in a while.
Yeah, I think Lauri, there's no debate that he is probably one of the most improved this year, just based on his stats alone. But like you said, him taking the Jazz from what everyone thought was going to go to absolute shit after they traded everyone away, and just kept Jordan Clarkson basically. And for him to be thriving there, I think says a lot about him and his will and drive that he wants to see the team succeed. So I think Lauri's a good fit for sure.
I think it's a great fit for him with Utah too. I feel like they're kind of where his role in the team now. I feel like it's just kind of the perfect situation. And I think with some other guys like Walker Kessler, we talked about, some other guys have been stepping up. I think he has been though the engine of that entire team that's really outperformed expectations. So I think that's a really good pick too.
Yeah, I think when you look at some of these guys, Lauri, SGA, and Jalen, which I think are the top three because those are the three I had written down too. And you would have told us 2 years ago, blank player is going to be leading their team to a playoff spot. And if you fill that with SGA, Jalen Brunson, and Lauri, I think we're most shocked about Lauri. And so what he's been able to do with a Utah team that Gabby said, is everyone's oh, they're going to get, Wembanyama or something, they're going to be a bottom 3 team. They're going to be terrible. But Markkanen has put them on his back, and they've literally, I think they're 500 right now in the West, which is just crazy, and he's shooting the heck out of the ball. I think he's shooting above 40% for threes, which is just nuts. Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to pick him for most improved just because of what he has been able to do this season.
I kind of have an off-the-wall pick for most improved. And he's not somebody that's I think even in this is just, it's so off the wall, honestly. But the way I was looking at it was this guy was traded to a team last year who this team has been absolute shit for X amount of years. And his scoring hasn't necessarily improved. He's always been a decent scorer, right? I think he's averaging 20 or something right now. But he has proven to me, at least, that he is a leader, and he has been able to lead this team into and I won't say I'm salty, but I am slightly salty about what happened this week. My pick is Sabonis. Domantas Sabonis. I think that he has like led the Kings to what they are. I mean, like you can give De'Aaron Fox all of the props you want, but like Sabonis is somebody who I think is more of like an underrated leader because he's quieter, he's like whatever, but I think the reason the Kings are good is because of him. So that's who I picked. I mean, he got raved about in Indiana, but after this trade, I feel like we've really seen him like just be the star that he is. So yeah, I think he's proven that he's a winner just based on like him taking the team that was horrible and like now they're like the 3rd seed or 4th seed.
Yeah, I honestly love that pick in a sense that it's different in the way that the NBA like votes for most improved. Right. Like necessarily he didn't improve stats wise. He didn't really improve. You know, we've always known that Sabonis is one of the best rebounders in the game. He's a great passer. He can score, but his impact is so much more now that he's winning. I mean, the Kings haven't made the playoffs in 20 years, and he's leading them, like you said, to the 3rd or 4th seed. And De'Aaron Fox was on that team before. All these other guys were on that team, and they didn't do nothing. And Sabonis got there, and now they've changed. I think off the wall in a sense to what the NBA votes for, I agree. But in terms of what you're stating, in terms of his impact, I think he's definitely improved and given the Kings a much-needed culture shift. And I don't think it's that bad of a pick. I mean, I think Vegas probably has his odds as something insane. So like if he won, like we'd probably get rich. But
and I put in the chat, someone else who wasn't there before is Kevin Huerter. So maybe it's the Huerter effect.
That too.
I love Kevin Huerter, but yeah, honestly, that's a great pick. I didn't even really think about Sabonis because kind of like what Rizzo said, like he's kind of stayed, like I think he has taken a bit of a leap because I think it will be hard to leave him off a all NBA team this season. But yeah, I think he's definitely taken a little jump, and yeah, what he's done with the Kings, and also, I mean, this is like so irrelevant, not really, but it's also just amazing at how great that trade was for both teams, for the Pacers. And like, I very rarely would both teams just benefit greatly from a trade. And that was just like one of those trades that Pacers got a great guard, Kings got a guard and picked up a great big man. It's just perfect.
I remember when he got traded because I've always been a fan of him. I just like him. I think he's just like a cool guy. I don't know. Like I'd want to be friends with him, but I remember when he got traded there, I felt so bad for him. I was like, I just want to give him a hug. Like, that sucks so bad. Because they were like, I mean, the Pacers were like a playoff team when he was on it. And when Malcolm Brogdon was on it, like, they were 1st round exits for a couple years in a row, but like, they were still making the playoffs. So when he got traded to the Kings, I was like, this poor guy. But I mean, now look at him. They just literally beat the Clippers by 1 point and double OT the other night. Like
167 or 176 to 175.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I love the pick, Gabby. I think that's a great pick. I remember when that trade happened, I was like, that's kind of crazy because I knew Halliburton was going to be like this young stud that could really carry a franchise, which I still think he is. But I wasn't. I still think the Kings should not have traded him. But the fact that they got Sabonis and then his impact on this team, like you guys have been saying, like for them, nothing's changed from last year other than him. Like he is the impact, he is the change, and they're now the 3 seed. And I've been watching them more, and they're such a fun team. I really like how they're built offensively, just to be a powerhouse and outscore everybody and just say fuck it with defense. But I think, like in general, like he's so good, and I think this is really a good way to look at the award itself because I think stats don't always tell the full picture, and I think this is one of those cases where you see a team get dramatically better, and it's because of one person. He's the leader, and they needed that more than anything, and I think it's a really good pick.
Yeah, and like I said, if we all threw $10 on it and he ended up winning it because Gabby said so, we'd all be rich. So I like the pick.
It wouldn't be the first time I got you guys rich. So
that is also true. So Mitch, I'll let you kind of take it away just to wrap up this segment. Who do you have as your most improved?
Yeah, honestly, like I said, it's hard not to pick Laurie. I do think it's like a two-person race. I did have SGA written down, which I guess I'm just a Thunder guy after picking Jalen Williams for the Rookie of the Year and SGA for Most Improved. But they are a great League Pass team. Anyway, I just think SGA's jump is very similar to Ja's, and I get the argument that like Ja maybe shouldn't have won last year. Maybe it should have been like a Jordan Poole or something like that. But I think SGA going from, a player that's pretty good on a team that's pretty mediocre, jumping to one of the best 10 players maybe in the league it's an impressive jump that he's made. So I had SGA, I went back and forth between him and Laurie literally all day, and I landed just very briefly on SGA. So that's where I am right now. If you ask me in an hour, it might change.
I like that though.
Yeah, when I was debating, SGA was my other. This was the hardest one for me to decide between SGA and Brunson on my end, because I think SGA is literally like, how many guards do you want on your team over SGA in the NBA? Like, how many guys are you like, yep, I want to start my franchise right now with this person over SGA? Maybe like Luka, and then what? Maybe 1, 2. I don't even know. He might be number 2 on the list. So it's like he is really just. I love how he's played. Like you were saying, I think the leap from good to great. I think that's a really hard one for people to make when you can actually become the guy, like a guy that can win a championship. And I think it's very clear at this point. He is literally just unstoppable. And he even at the beginning of the season when, he was putting up some crazy numbers. He gets the foul line so well, makes his free throws. He shoots like 15 free throws a game, it seems like. And he's just an absolute stud. And I think he's one of the best players in the NBA now. So I love the pick.
Imagine if we never traded him for Paul George.
Right. He could be a Clipper now.
But I think Paul George is probably a better fit than SGA. Like, I don't think SGA would have reached his full potential with the Clippers. SGA, obviously, another one of the 3 that we were all kind of debating. I agree. SGA took a leap from, all-star to perennial superstar, just like Michael was saying. I just think it's boring.
But he wasn't an all-star.
That is true.
Cards, but this was his first All-Star this season too.
That is true. That is true.
That's a whole nother conversation. Like, who was actually All-Stars this year is like a fucking.
It's just crazy
and voting and like.
Yeah, it's just crazy how much talent there is in the NBA now. Honestly, like so many people miss out on the All-Star game. Like Jaren Jackson made it this year, which I think is going to be a good segue to this topic, which is going to ultimately be the Defensive Player of the Year. You can argue that Jaren Jackson is not a flashy player at all. He's kind of but the fact that he made an All-Star obviously is because of his defense. Mitch, I'll kind of let you take it away first in this segment.
I was hoping you would let me go first, because there's no way in hell I am giving any award to a Memphis Grizzly, let alone Jaren Jackson Jr. There's no chance. I know that he leads the league in blocks. Cool. Good job, dude. He's also, I think, up there and leading the league in fouls. The dude's way over aggressive. He fouls out all the time. I'm just not a fan of Jaren Jackson Jr. Or his game. So my pick is Brook Lopez, the old man in Milwaukee. I think he's contested a ridiculous 17 shots a game. The second place person is Nick Claxton with 12. So he's contesting everything for Milwaukee. He's hanging down there, down low, controlling the paint. And I just like volume. I'm sorry, but I don't like guys that miss games. Jaren Jackson Jr. has played 42 games. Brook Lopez has played 59. I'll take Brook Lopez any day.
I like Brook, definitely.
Splash Mountain, man. I agree. I don't agree on the pick because I have something different, and it's not Jaren Jackson. But what I do agree is fuck Memphis. Fuck those guys. Fuck Dylan Brooks. Jaren Jackson isn't as bad, but like you said, he's way too over-aggressive. I think his defensive prowess is almost overhyped. There's actually a really funny clip. I don't know if you guys saw, but House of Highlights on Instagram posted it. Jaren Jackson on the All-Star game was telling Kyrie how he plays defense. Oh, I'm going to stop you here. And then Kyrie was like, you're going to stop me here, but then I'm going to go here. So he just kind of made him look stupid. It was so funny. And Jaren Jackson's like, oh, I guess you could do that. So I think he's overhyped. My pick, and it's something that you mentioned, Mitchell, is that boy Nick Claxton. I think Nick Claxton is such a fun pick in a sense that before this season, I would say 90% of casual fans or just NBA fans didn't know who he was. Obviously, him playing in Brooklyn, being from New York, I've seen a lot of Brooklyn games. And like you said, I think the stats that he has is amazing. Contests 12 shots a game. He's one of the best shot blockers in the league. He's averaging almost 3 blocks a game. And like you said, compared to Jaren Jackson, his volume is there. Like, he plays almost all the time. I think he has 56 games played this year. He's healthy. He gets out there. He will guard their best player. And he actually had this crazy stat. So shout out to all the people that gamble. Nick Claxton had a shots and blocks combined line of 2.5. And he went over that line 18 straight times this season. So in 18 straight games, he went over 3 blocks and steals combined, which is pretty insane. Granted, Brooklyn is a defensive-minded kind of team, but I just think the way that Nick Claxton is playing, he deserves some flowers. Jaren Jackson, I think, is just overhyped. Obviously, he has the blocks, but like you said, Mitch, he fouls out so much. Nick Claxton is someone that you can count on to play the entire game, and he's healthy. So my pick for Depoy is Nick Claxton. Is it flashy? No, but it's someone that deserves their flowers.
I like a Nick Claxton pick. Also, just go off the JJJ again. I think like a game or two, maybe 2 games ago, he fouled out like 21 minutes in a game. Like, the dude, I'm sorry, I can't stand Jaren Jackson.
And it's hard to root for people like him when his team is so obnoxious.
Yeah.
Like, if he was on a different team, I feel like it would be different because he's not that unlikable. Like, he's pretty like just like exists, I feel like, as far as like personality wise. But when you have a Ja and you have Dylan, like, and you have players like that are just so obnoxious in the media and make your team look so bad, it's hard to root for him, even if he does deserve it.
Yeah, I've never seen a team talk so much shit collectively when they've never done anything.
So
What have they done? They haven't done shit. So that's
so
funny.
crazy.
Yeah, I agree with your guys' opinions on Jaren Jackson. And then, I think who did you just pick, Rizzo? Nick
Claxton.
Claxton. Yeah, I really like him as a player. I feel like he was someone that was like kind of an afterthought, and I didn't understand like why he hasn't been. Did they trade him, or was he in the trade when they traded all the guy like Jared Allen and all of them, or is he already on the team and he just?
I think he's a Brooklyn product. Like, I think
okay.
He was drafted by them, I think.
Yeah, he was.
It's funny. He reminds me of Jared Allen so much. Like, it's literally just like the same exact like skill set, and just like I really like him.
He was actually traded by the Philadelphia 76ers. Oh, he was drafted by the Nets. He was part of a trade, like his pick was. But he was a second-round pick for the Nets.
That's a good pick for them, for sure.
Yeah, second-round steal.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about guys in the East, I will tell you guys my pick. And I kind of went back and forth on this too. I actually was between this person and Brooke, actually, just because I love Brooke. I love his game. I've loved watching him play. But the person I picked is on a team right now that is struggling offensively, like so bad right now. And I think his like defensive versatility is kind of overshadowed by how bad their offense is right now. So I think that this is potentially why he's not in the talks as much, is because their team is so bad right now. And that's Bam. I think that without Bam, they are like the 12th seed, honestly. I think he is like the difference maker for them. And that's not saying a lot because they aren't doing great. But who's going to play defense without Bam there? Like, he is their entire defense. And I think he's averaging like 10 rebounds or something, 2 steals a game, which is like, for a team that's pretty bad, I think that's says a lot when their offense isn't doing much. But yeah,
I love that pick, Gabby, and I had Bam like on the fringe. I'm a UK guy, so obviously like with SGA, like I'm a John Wall too. But I think what hurts Bam in this category that doesn't hurt players like Brooke Lopez and Jaren Jackson Jr. and Nick Claxton is his offensive game is so great.
Yeah.
And so I think it overshadows his defensive game, and people don't realize how talented he is defensively because it's like, oh yeah, God, he put up 24 and 14, but but people forget, like you said, like what an anchor he is defensively for Miami. Like he is crazy talented, and I think if he wasn't defensively, like if he was putting up 8 points a game, like maybe Jaren Jackson or somebody, then I think people would be looking at him more for Defensive Player of the Year too.
Yeah.
Yes, I love the Bam pick too, just because he was actually my preseason favorite. I went into the season like, oh, I think this is going to be Bam's year. Obviously, Rudy Gobert left, and he always accumulated all those awards. Marcus Smart won last year, which is still nuts. But Bam is somebody that I think, unlike a Brooke Lopez or unlike – well, Claxton does get steals, but I think Bam can get steals, Bam can get blocks, and Bam can guard the 1 through 5. Like, Bam genuinely, you can count on him to guard all 5 positions. Brooke, you really can't count on that. He's just more of a perimeter or a paint defender, whereas Claxton is kind of the same way. The only people I think in the league that genuinely can guard 1 through 5 comfortably are Bam Adebayo and honestly Giannis. Like, I think those two can do it pretty well. And Bam's a great shout out. I just don't think he's getting the recognition because, like you said, Gabby, Miami's kind of been underwhelming this season. They're turning around. Like Jimmy Butler's playing a lot better. Like a lot of other players are playing a lot better. But when you have people like Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent, Kevin Love now, like you don't really got that much defense. So Bam has to be that anchor. So I love the variety in picks. Bam definitely is, in my opinion, a fringe and should be in that discussion for Depoy. So I like the pick.
Yeah, and I think like another thing about Bam is that like just from my experience, because obviously I watch every Clippers game, like 9 times out of 10, Bam is guarding Kawhi. Like he's guarding the best player on the court, I'm assuming, regardless of what team they're playing against, which like I think says a lot. Like you were saying, he can guard 1 through 5, but he's also 9 times out of 10 guarding the best player on the court, like not just matching up with the 5 or whatever position Bam is on the court at the time. And so I think that just says a lot about his game and how he can just be versatile in defense. So
yeah, I've always loved Bam. I think he's he's the perfect player to be like a number 2 on a team where he like does everything other than like the elite offensive shooting and scoring, obviously, but he can carry a defense. And like you guys have said, I love that he's able to be so versatile and guard really anybody. And he's not someone on offense where he needs the ball in his hands constantly. He'll find a way to get his points just from putbacks and just doing his thing. But I really like the pick as well. I think that's a great one.
And I do really quickly before, Michael, I let you make your pick. I do want to give Bam his flowers too, because honestly, like you can argue that he's made that offensive jump too. Like I don't know exactly at the top of my head, but he's rounding that 20 points per game.
Yeah.
Like he's like taken such a great leap. His mid-range has improved drastically. He can knock them down. He is somebody that you can count on. And obviously, he was the only all-star in Miami this year. Like Jimmy Butler's kind of taken a step back. I think Eric Spoelstra has kind of given the keys to Bam and is like, Bam, this is your time to shine. And I think Bam is now taking that leap to being maybe the 3rd best center in the league behind Jokic and Embiid. Like, I think there's conversations for that. So just want to give Bam a little bit shout out because he could do it on both ends.
He's averaging 21 and 10, by the way. Bam.
Yeah, there you go. So, Michael, I'll kind of let you close off the Depoy segment.
Yeah, my defensive player of the year, I'm going to be honest, this was the award when I saw we were talking about it. I was like, I don't got a clue. So I went and did a lot of research, looked at a lot of statistics, not only the player defense, but also their impact on the team. And I wound up with kind of a hot take here. So this is my defensive player of the year is not just someone that doesn't have a history with this award, right? This defensive player of the year actually is a reigning defensive player of the year for a 2-seeded team. But I'm not talking about Marcus Smart and the Boston Celtics. I'm talking about Walker Kessler and the Auburn basketball team because he won defensive player of the year last year.
Wow.
He's once again, this is not a crazy take. I looked at the odds. I'm like, am I going to go on this podcast and make a fool of myself? He's the number 11 in Vegas odds. So he's on the list. He's in the conversation. And it's because his impact defensively is actually like crazy. Like he's not someone that we're not just making things up here. We're not just being like, yep, that guy's playing center for Utah. He should be a defensive player of the year candidate. He literally won a defensive player of the year in college last year, came to Utah and filled in Rudy Gobert's shoes pretty much perfectly. So I understand this is like probably not ever going to happen. And it's probably a really like, just what the fuck are you talking about take? But like, he's not just my rookie of the year. He is my defensive player of the year because I think Walker Kessler is the real deal. And to back it up, I'm in a fantasy basketball league that is on its 7th year, very competitive. I've got 2nd place 4 years in a row, so I really want to win. I just traded for him, and I gave up Trae Young to get him. So I really think Walker Kessler is the shit. All right.
No, that's kind of, go ahead, Mitch.
I'm a big a rival of the RizPod, you could argue. I'm a big fan of Bill Simmons. And Bill Simmons just tweeted out that he was like, Walker Kessler is literally baby Dikembe Mutombo. And like, honestly, like you could like make that argument. Like it's not too far fetched. So like, I dig it. I can't wait for you to say that Kessler is your MVP pick here. Kessler down the row. I love it. But yeah, I dig it.
No, I do.
He passes the eye test. The statistics aren't there because he doesn't have the minutes as much, but his minutes have been increasing a lot. He's gone up to 29 now a game, and the eye test is there. And I really think like he is that guy. Just no one's talking about him because he has a boring name on a boring team that no one's like, you know, who the hell is Walker Kessler? So
yeah. No, I'm 100% with that. And like you said, Rizzo, like he basically took over for Rudy Gobert and like. Say what you want and what you think about him. Like, I feel like Rudy is like so overrated, and I think that his Defensive Player of the Year awards were just like based on just like I don't know because he's fucking 7'4" and whatever. But I'm excited. I'm excited for Walker Kessler and to see his career unfold in front of our eyes, especially from the beginning, since you know
it's
been playing college.
It's so funny. If you asked me a week ago if I would talk about Walker Kessler as much as I have, and not only on this podcast, but the last one I had, it's actually so hilarious. Like, I guess I got to start being a Walker Kessler stan. Like, Michael, honestly, after this podcast, I got to parlay DeMontis for most improved and Walker Kessler for DPOY. $1 is definitely winning us $1 million. So I don't hate the pick. I think what drew me to Walker Kessler being the rookie of the year is how great of an impact he's had on the defensive end. Like he's genuinely shot blocking the best, like drivers in the game. Like people, I don't want to say they have fear driving into Walker Kessler, but Walker Kessler is putting up 4 blocks, 7 blocks, 6 blocks, 5 block games. Like, and he's not even getting the minutes. Like imagine if he played a full 82 game season, like the metrics that they have for him, I'm sure by his like per 36 is probably out of this world. Yeah. So I like the pick. I think it's different. But like Mitch said, I'm excited for him to be in your NBA All First Team, his MVP, him just to clean house on all the awards.
and
win, you know.
As someone that wants everybody here that's listening to the RizPod to make money, do not bet on Walker Kessler to win Defensive Player of the Year. He's not going to win, but he should be in the conversation.
And I like that call because if he wasn't a rookie, he would have won most improved too. So,
yeah.
But with that being said, I agree. I love that we all had 4 different picks for this award. And I love how all of them were not the favorite in Jaren Jackson. So we do not stand the Memphis Grizzlies or the Phoenix Suns on the RizPod. But what we do stand is going to be segueing over to the most valuable player award, the MVP, the most coveted award behind the Larry O'Brien trophy in the NBA. It's the MVP. It's something that is honestly been one of the tightest races, I feel like, in a very long time. I feel like in the later half of the first half, it's kind of been more of a runaway favorite, I feel like. But everybody has their own opinions. And I guess I'm going to let Gabby, you started off. Who do you have as your first half MVP?
So I think like debatable, like this is also I wish it was Kawhi. I wish I could pick Kawhi for this. Like, okay, so the Joker, obviously, he averages a triple-double. Like, I feel like that's just goes without saying. Like, that's absolutely insane. And he is what everyone was trying to make Westbrook be, like, a few years ago when Westbrook was, like, Mr. Triple-double, whatever. I have 4 names written down, and I'm very torn between all 4 of them because I think there's an argument for all of them. But I'm going to go with Giannis as my MVP. I think Giannis is the best player in the NBA currently. I think he is somebody who any single team in the NBA would benefit from him being on their team and him being their star. I think that not only is he a great person, but he is fun to watch. His numbers say enough as whatever. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting, obviously, to see who actually ends up winning, because I think all 4 names that I've written down are the top 4 people to potentially win it. I don't even honestly know if Giannis is in the conversation for MVP or not, but I love him, and I think that he is so fun to watch.
Yeah,
he should be in the conversation. If he's
yeah,
not,
I think.
He should be.
Yeah. I think compared to Vegas odds, I think he's second behind the Joker.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I'll kind of go next just because I have some thoughts on that. My MVP is someone I can't believe I'm saying, but it's Mr. I'm fine in the West, and that's Ja. No, I'm just joking. I would never say Ja Morant on the pod. It's actually the guy that I'm wearing right now. It's Mr. Greek Freak. Give me a second. It's Mr. Greek Freak himself, and that is Giannis. I do agree with you. I think what Giannis is doing this season and the impact that he's had has been tremendous. I got to give Jokic his flowers. I think this is very similar to the Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. Like, if I had a vote, if I was an NBA writer and I had a vote to vote for the MVP, I would give it to Joker, because what Joker is doing is so crazy. He's first seed in the West. He's averaging a triple-double as a center. He has, I think, 27 triple-doubles this season alone. Like, that's in itself nuts. The team has never lost when he's had a triple-double. So, like, the fact that Jokic is not only making himself look great, but everyone around him look better is fantastic. And he's going to be the 3rd player ever to win back-to-back-to-back MVPs. But I like voting the MVP as the best player in the league. And in my opinion, I think Giannis is the best player in the league. It's tough because, like I mentioned when I segued into the MVP, I had 5 names written down for MVP. I had Jokic, Embiid, Tatum, and Luka. And this has been probably the tightest race, I feel like, in a long time, because all those guys have insane stats. But I think what separates Giannis from the rest of them, Milwaukee's on a 14-game winning streak right now. And that's all thanks to Giannis, Drew Holiday, and just everybody playing around him. Giannis is a two-way player. He can play defense. One of the best defenders, like I said. He can guard the 1 through 5. The only hole in Giannis's game is his jump shot. But when you're putting up 30 points a game by just dunking on everyone, getting to the line, and just scoring at such an efficient clip, I don't really think it's that hard to be the MVP. And I think this will be Giannis's 3rd. I just think Milwaukee is one of the best teams in the NBA, and that's to the lead of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like you said, Gabby, he's a great guy and all that, but I'm not voting on who I like the best. I'm voting on who I think is the best player in the league, and I think that is Giannis.
As you're wearing his hoodie. Look, all I know is, they've won 14 in a row. Great job. Giannis has been out the last 4 games?
Yeah, last 3 games.
So it's not all good to him. It's not all good to him. It's Drew Holiday is just going insane this past month. So I would say it's largely due to Drew Holiday, in my opinion. And I think you said something before, and I have to just point it out. You said, I like to give MVP to the best player, which is not the award. The award is the most valuable player. And when you talk about being valuable, I have one name written down, because there's only one name worthy of talking about, and that is Jokic. He makes everyone around him better. Michael Porter Jr. is doing great. Aaron Gordon's great. I mean, literally everyone around him, he puts them in the best position to win, best position to succeed. Sometimes Jokic takes off a night. He'll get like a 12-12-12 triple-double instead of like a 25 one. But it's just because he's just dishing out here, and he's just putting his teammates in the best position. There's no one else, I think, even in the discussion for me. I think he's gonna win 3 in a row. He'll be the 4th player all time to do it, and it's totally worthy, in my opinion.
Here's my problem with the Jokic pick is I feel like if you keep winning MVPs and your team still doesn't do anything in the playoffs at a certain point, I'm not going to vote for you.
It's a regular season award.
I understand that, but like at the same time, like in the back of my head, if I'm voting, like I can't keep like Aaron Rodgers in the NFL, Jokic in the NBA. They have to at a certain point make the championship game. They have to. If you're the best player, you're the MVP. I'm not going to keep voting for you over and over if you continue to not. Yeah. So yeah. But I do agree that Jokic putting up the most insane numbers. I think he is, in terms of carrying a team by himself, which is probably most valuable if that's how you phrase it, because that's probably what it is. He is the person to vote for. My own personal opinion, I can't vote for someone a third straight year if they continue to not have success in the playoffs. And that's just a personal bias, and it's probably not even the right way to think about it. And then with Giannis, I think he is, I mean, him, Jokic, they're both like two of the best players in the NBA. And Giannis he's great, but I think what Mitchell said is correct. I think it's been more of a testament to Drew, and I feel like other people on the team have been stepping up, and I don't necessarily think this is some like outlandish Giannis season. This isn't something where I'm like, yeah, Giannis is going absolutely nuts. Like he deserves the MVP. So I think everyone else has gone, so I'll just say mine, since I'm on the mic right now. My MVP is neither of those people. My MVP is Walker. No, my MVP is someone that I think honestly really deserves it. He's putting up career highs in points, in rebounds, and assists per game. They have been the 1 seed pretty much the entire season. Right now, I think they're tied. I'm picking Jason Tatum. I absolutely love Jason Tatum's game. I think he is. I've always been a Tatum fan, but I think just seeing him continue to get better every season, he always gets better. And he's not just an offensive player. He's a very much a two-way player who's able to shut down elite players as well that are offensive studs. And on top of it, what I like most about voting for people for this award are people that are not sitting out games, resting, injuries, whatever. Tatum's played 56 out of 60 games. He's playing pretty much just as much as anybody in the NBA. He's putting up insane statistics, career highs all across the board. His team is, my opinion, the best team. And that's an award. This is an award where I look at it and I say, when someone like Aaron Rodgers in the NFL wins MVP and their team doesn't go anywhere, I get kind of pissed off because I think this should be an award that someone wins this and their team is actually like an elite team. And that's why I really like Jason Tatum. And I just think he's just a fantastic player.
Yeah, I love Jason Tatum. I have literally loved him since he was in college. He's one of my favorite players. I mean, I think when you look at Jason's game, I think that he, one, is so like mentally headstrong, and he knows who and where he wants his career to go, which I think is really hard for a lot of like young guys, is that they're not able to like see their goals, if that makes sense. Where like JT was mentored by Kobe when he was younger, so like he knows what his potential and what his path can be, and he shows that. Like every year he's gotten better. He's leading the team. They went to the NBA Finals last year. I mean, they lost to like a stacked Golden State team, so like whatever. But I think as long as that Celtics team stays intact and like are playing as well as they are, it's going to be a shootout between them and the Bucks for the next 5 years, I think, in the East. And I think when like KD and Kyrie went to Brooklyn, everyone was like expecting like them to like go up there and like be in competition with Jason and like Giannis's like teams. But now I think the Celtics will win a title soon because of Jason. And I think that's all that it is contributed to is Jason.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is the best is still ahead of him. You look at Giannis and Jokic, they're 28. They're in their prime right now. They're starting their prime. Tatum's still 24 years old. Like, he's not even close to his prime yet. He still has several years before he even hits it. And he is just his continued, like, ability to just get better every single season. And I feel like the thing that's been missing for him, and I'm curious to see how it comes this year in the playoffs, is I feel like he has kind of, like, shrunk a little bit in big games. Especially like this last NBA Finals. I know that Jaylen Brown had a lot of really good games, and Tatum, especially when it mattered most, was not really hitting the shots. I feel like that's the last thing I need to see. But I also think last year, them making the finals, I think they were a year too early than what people anticipated, and that was probably because of Middleton getting hurt. But I think they are, in my opinion, the best team in the NBA, and I think he is obviously the leader and the best player on the best team in the NBA. And I think he's now entered that elite tier of players where you could pick Giannis for MVP, you could pick Jokic, you could pick Luka, you could pick Embiid. Like, I think all those guys are very similar in their talent at this point. I don't think there's like a clear one. So for me, when I'm picking the award, I want to pick someone that is on the best team that's showing the success in the record as well, and
I think
in the playoffs.
I think I do want to comment on JT because I have given Jason Tatum a lot of praise on the RizPod. Like my first episode ever of the podcast, we ranked the top 10 best players in the NBA right now, and I had him ranked number 2 just because I've loved to see what Jason Tatum's done this season, and that was like 2 months back. So the fact that he's still keeping up this production, the Celtics are still one of the best teams in the NBA and are the odds-on favorite to win the NBA championship. Gabby, you're so right. If it's not this year, it's soon. They're going to win a title within the next 3 to 4 seasons. I don't know when, but it's just Jason Tatum. The joke, I was going to make a joke before you said his actual age, Michael, but Jason Tatum is still doing this at 19 years old. I mean, that's the joke that everyone's saying because since he's came in the league, the Celtics have either made the finals or lost in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, that's nuts. Like, 4 or 5 years in the league and you've made it to the Eastern Conference Finals every single time, going against LeBrons, going against the KDs, going against the Giannis's, going against whoever. Like the guy has proven himself. But like you said, he has shrunk in the bigger games. I think what has kind of teetered me away from Jason Tatum winning MVP is just how good the Celtics are. And obviously that a lot of it is because of Jason Tatum, but you have Jaylen Brown, who is a dog in himself, averaging like 26, 27 points as a second option. Like he just has such a stacked team.
But
and to kind of
push back on that, if we're talking about other players having great role players, like Giannis has Drew Holiday, Giannis has Chris Middleton, Giannis has Brook Lopez. Like, I think if that's the award, if that's how we're basing it, then I'm voting Jokic. But I think you're going to have other really good players on great teams. But I think it's clear Tatum's always been the dude, which is really important.
Which is what I was going to kind of segue over to why, like, I think Jokic is the correct pick just because he doesn't have another superstar with him. And what he's doing as a center is amazing. But my only thing with Tatum is I think what Tatum does great. And I know like early on, he had a lot of comparisons with Devin Booker. And like I said, I hate Devin Booker, but he actually makes his team better. And he might not be the guy that's going to get 10 assists, 8 assists, but he does this thing where he draws so much attention from the defenses and he allows others to be great. Whereas I don't really think Devin Booker does that. So I think Jason Tatum has taken that big leap. I mean, the guy's averaging 31 points, like you said, like 10, almost 9, 10 rebounds, and a lot of assists. So I think Tatum's a great pick. He's just not my pick. Cool. Any final thoughts on the MVP?
I'm curious to see what happens because I think Jokic is like the odds-on favorite right now betting-wise, but I could see a world where people don't want to vote for him again because I think you do kind of get like it's one of those things where you don't want to keep voting for the same person, especially like Jokic isn't really someone that like is the most exciting player in the NBA to watch. It's not like it's Luka or like Giannis, for example, like that are just like beloved. Like no one really loves Jokic, so I could see a situation where since this race is so close, I could see it really being anybody in the group that we've discussed. So,
and how you kind of mentioned earlier, like Denver hasn't been doing anything. Like it'd be different if like they were like Western Conference Finals like the last like 5 seasons or something. Mm-hmm. But like we kind of talked about it on the pod that we did for when we were talking about football, but like it's like Josh Allen. Like everybody is obsessed with Josh Allen and how great he is, but like he hasn't been doing anything. So it's like, do they want to keep voting for the MVP to just not go anywhere and win anything? Like it's almost just kind of like a fizzling out award. Whereas like if you vote for a Giannis or a JT or even a Luka, like players that are going to win eventually. So
well, I personally I think the Nuggets. If I was a betting man, just kidding, I am. But my bet would be the Nuggets are going to win it all this year. So I do think that MVP will translate to the title.
That's going to be a hot take, and I'm excited for you to talk about that take when we get to the last segment of the pod.
Also, I just want to say real quick about MVP. It's wild, which I didn't talk about. It's just crazy that no one talked about Embiid.
Yeah, it's
33 a game and like 10.5 rebounds, and the Sixers are pretty good.
Okay, but then the playoffs come and he's injured in the first game, and then he doesn't play for the rest of the playoffs.
But it's a regular season award. If you want to incorporate the playoffs, then they need to redo the award.
True.
That is true. But before we even talk about the playoffs or incorporating awards, let's talk about the award that's probably the most coveted behind the MVP. That's the NBA All-First Team. Who do we have as the 5 best players of the first half? I think this one is going to be a little bit more different towards the other awards that we've had, because honestly, we had a lot of variety. Like, I mean, in terms of most improved, we had a great shout-out. Rookie of the Year, we've had a great shout-outs. Defensive Player of the Year, we all had different picks. MVP, we were all kind of on the same train. But this one, let's see if we're all similar or all different. Michael, I'll let you kind of take it away. Who do you have as your 5 best players in the first half this season?
All right. So I want to preface this by saying the way I build an all-NBA team, I build it based on what I think could actually be like a starting lineup. So I'm not going to do like 3 forwards. I'm not doing 2 centers. So by proxy, I can't have Jokic and Embiid in my all-NBA team. So my starting center, this was probably the hardest one for me to decide between, obviously Jokic and Embiid, because I think they both very much deserve it. I went with Embiid. So I do not even have Jokic on my All-NBA team. I know he very much deserves to be there, but similar last year, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Embiid left off, or was he on? I just don't like it when they put 2 centers in. So
I think Embiid was left off.
Oh, was he? I can't remember.
Could just be in my head, but I went with Embiid because, like Mitchell had mentioned, he's putting up insane numbers, and I think, like, not that the Sixers don't have other guys, because obviously they have James Harden, but like, I don't value their other guys very much. Like, I think Embiid is honestly like the engine of that entire team, and I think, you know, yes, they're the 3rd seed, and Denver's the 1 seed, but they actually only have 1 less loss than Denver, so they're actually very similar record-wise. And I feel like Embiid has just impressed me more. I feel like he's better defensively as well, and it was a really tough call. I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, Jokic doesn't deserve to be on it, but that's why I went with Embiid over him. It was a very tough decision. My 2 forwards are obviously my MVP pick, so Jason Tatum, and then Giannis is the other forward that I had. Not much to say there. I think they should be on everybody's list. And then for guards, my first one is Luka. That is pretty self-explanatory. I think what he's doing is absolutely insane. I think with Kyrie, they're going to be a really interesting team to watch. And I think Luka's I just think he's one of the 5 best players in the NBA. And that team is not very good besides Luka. So similar to Jokic, I feel like he kind of really is the entirety of that team. And then my last guard. All right. So listen, I was looking through it. I was debating between 3 names. I didn't want to pick John Morant. Okay. We've already been over the Memphis part. I don't like John Morant. I just don't think that. I feel like also their team is like very like good all around. I don't think he's like, not that he's overrated, but I don't think he's like as hyped and as good as he's. I think he is overhyped, I guess was what I'm saying. And then Shai was my other pick, but I ended up going with Damian Lillard as my second guard. I will admit this is a bit of a homer pick because I am a Portland Trailblazer fan, but what he's doing, he's putting up the most insane numbers. I mean, in the last 2 weeks, I think he's averaging like 30. 37, 36 points a game. Like, he is literally just catching fire right now. And if he finishes this way, he should have been an all-star game starter. I think he's really he wants to get this team to the playoffs. And I'll be honest, this Portland team really sucks. So if they do make the playoffs, I think it's a testament to Dame more than anything. And with this award, I feel like there's a few options, but I like Dame here.
I think my lineup is very similar. So I have Luka, JT, and Giannis all on mine as well. I picked the Joker over Embiid, solely just based off like postseason performance and stuff. But I think Embiid is a obvious good pick there too. So I actually had Tatum in one of my guard spots. I had Luka as my point, and then Tatum at my shooting guard. And my other forward I picked was KD. So that was really the only difference. Was I had KD on it. I was actually between for some reason I was kind of like tinkering with Donovan Mitchell on my first team, but I ended up going with KD. So yeah, that was my only difference.
Kevin Durant's been awesome this year.
Yeah,
and undeniable. Like, you can't like deny him. Like,
I kind of want to touch on that too, because that's a great point. So I think for me, what was hard, I think we're all kind of similar. I did it like you said, Michael. I kind of went traditional. I went with the center, 2 forwards, 2 guards, just because I don't really recall recently if 2 centers have made it. Last year, Embiid did not make it. It was Booker, Luka, Tatum, Giannis, and Jokic. So my center, I'm going to go with Jokic. I mean, if the guy's going to win his 3rd straight MVP and he's not on the first team, that's highway robbery. Luka, not only just because he's my favorite player in the league, but the guy is one of the best guards in the league. Like you said, I mean, obviously now he's got the addition of Kyrie and like Christian Wood's okay, but like it's just him, Kyrie now, and a bunch of role players that he took to the Western Conference Finals last year. And he beat the Suns, who made the finals the year before, in 7 on the road by like 50. So, and it's not even about last year. He's still putting up great numbers. So Luka's in it. JT's obviously in it. Giannis is in it, and Jokic. So the last spot for me was hard because it's a guard spot. I don't know. They're not going to put Tatum in the guard spot, or they're not going to put KD. But KD's had such a great season. But the guard that's going to be on my team, Gabby, you mentioned it, is Donovan Mitchell. I think what Donovan Mitchell has done this season, I mean, if Devin Booker can make a first NBA All-Team, why can't Donovan Mitchell? Donovan Mitchell has been outstanding. He's averaging like 28 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, shooting at such an efficient clip for someone that shoots so many shots. And I mean, he got traded from Utah to Cleveland, and Cleveland's honestly a sleeper team in the East. Nobody's really talking about them. There's all talk on the Sixers, the Bucks, Celtics, and Cleveland's just kind of sneak in there. Like I can see Cleveland making the Eastern Conference Finals if the dominoes fall their way, and that's all because of Donovan Mitchell. So I think we're all kind of agreement on a couple of 3 to 4 players, but I think Donovan Mitchell makes it for me because I think he's just kind of that guy that's led Cleveland to being a lot better than they were last year.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell is somebody who, like, whether or not he's on a team you love or hate, like, you just have to love him. Like, you love his game, you respect him, the way that he plays. He's just so talented. Like, I mean, he put up a 70-piece this season, which was just so insane. Like, and he's just, I don't know, he's just one of those players that you just love to love him, basically. And I know the Cavs are either one of those teams that you love or hate, but I think you're right. I think that they kind of are in a sneaky position this year because, I mean, Rizzo, we saw them play. Like, they're a very dynamic and good team, and they play really well together. So, yeah, I like Donovan Mitchell there, too.
They remind me a lot of the 2019 Celtics for some reason. I could see them, like you guys are saying, they're so young, but they're so talented. You can tell there's like really real bonds there, and they all very much play well off each other. And I thought Donovan Mitchell like fits in there so great. He's kind of just like the missing factor. They kind of needed more of a vet, but he's also like still in that same like age frame in a way. And yeah, I think the Cavs are legit, and I think Donovan Mitchell deserves a lot of praise for that.
Interestingly enough, I guess maybe I'm the one person in the world that does hate Donovan Mitchell. Again, I'm a UK guy. He went to Louisville. Can't stand the guy. My 5 are similar. I got Jokic, of course. I got Tatum, Giannis, Luka. I think we all had Tatum, Giannis, Luka, and all of us. So they're unanimous first teamers there for us. And then the toughest spot, I think, is that last guard spot. I was between Donovan Mitchell. Obviously, I did not take him because I am a hater. I ended up taking SGA, who, again, I think is the most improved player. I think if you can jump from not even being an all-star to jump to a first-team All-NBA, like I think he deserves, that's why he was most improved, the way that he plays. And like Michael, you even said earlier, like, how many guards do you want over SGA right now? You know, like what he's been doing is just amazing. So he's that fifth player for me.
Yeah, I like SGA there too.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment. Donovan Mitchell, if you're ever watching this, I'm a Westchester boy just like you. We stand you in the RizPod. So
I think Shai. Shai's a fantastic pick. I think he is probably the second best guard in the NBA at this point. Like in terms of who you'd start a franchise with. Obviously Steph, and I also believe Dame's better now. But in the future, I think they're in great hands with him. And I think your most improved pick makes a ton of sense as well, especially with you having him in the first team All-NBA.
Yeah, I just want to comment. I love the SGA pick too. I actually had him as an all-star starter on my predictions video a couple episodes back. I think what he's doing needs to be recognized. And I think him being on first NBA or first team All NBA is very achievable. Like I don't think it's a hot take. I don't think it's a bad pick. Like I don't think it's far fetched. I think it's very doable. I just think it really just comes down to if the voters or whatnot want to award someone who had a big jump like SGA or have someone like Donovan Mitchell or even a Ja Morant.
It's gonna be Ja.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Ja.
Which
we're gonna be happy.
Which, hating aside, I mean, Ja Morant very much can deserve to be there. I mean, Memphis is the second seed in the West. They are performing very well behind Ja, who's averaging almost 30 points and like 8 assists. So Ja does deserve his recognition.
Yep.
We just, not even us here on the pod, just a lot of the NBA fandom didn't like him saying he's fine in the West because after he said that, Katie goes to the Suns, Kyrie goes to the Mavs. The Clippers get Westbrook, who shout out had a good debut for Gabby and her Clippers. But yeah, just Ja Morant probably has a shot of making it too.
I feel like it should be just a very like easy rule to follow. Don't start talking a ton of shit until you've actually won something because now every single team they play just wants to beat the brakes off of them. They're going to be getting the team's best effort every single night because nobody likes them now. And you got to wait until you do it and then start running your mouth because then even if you get beat, you can still say you did it. Now you might not ever do it. And now you're going to look dumb because I don't think this Grizzly team is going to make the Western Conference Finals. And at that point, then you're going to look dumb again. So it's like, yeah.
I mean, the West is stacked, so.
It is. And I think this is actually a great segue to our final segment of the RizPod for this episode. And that's going to be teams or a player that you feel like are under the most pressure in the second half of the NBA season. Obviously, with the first half being completed, everybody had their, great moments, bad moments. But what do you think is going to happen in this second half? And Michael, I kind of let you take it away. I feel like I kind of got the temperature that you were going along with, so I'll let you take the floor.
Yeah, so listen, the person that I think is under the most pressure, it's not my first favorite player, which is Dame. It's not my third or my fourth, which is Bobo and Walker Kessler. It is my second favorite player, a Seattle Supersonic, Kevin Durant. I love Kevin Durant, but he has to win a ring without Golden State. And whether he was on Brooklyn or whether he's in Phoenix now, it didn't really matter. To me, he is the player with the most pressure because we keep, like all of us put Giannis and Tatum in our NBA All-5, right? I think everybody is going to be doing that over Kevin Durant because Kevin Durant, he's been like the one, he's going to come down as like what, top 15 all time, top 20 at worst. Like he is that guy, but he's never done it as the guy. And I think now you're going to a team that literally just made, was that last year or 2 years ago? 2 years ago that made the NBA Finals against Milwaukee, the Phoenix Suns. They're loaded. They have Chris Paul, a great vet. They have Devin Booker, like Rizzo said, first team All NBA last year. They have 8, and they have some guys. Kevin Durant has to be able to go in there, and they have to at least make the NBA Finals. If they don't make the NBA Finals, and what I believe is a wide open West, because I'm sorry, I don't believe in the Grizzlies. I'm sorry, I don't believe in Denver. They have not ever proven it, and I feel like Kevin Durant, there's no excuse. You're not with there's no LeBron on some scary team in the West to beat you. There's no super good Giannis team or super good Boston team. The West is literally at your hands right now. You have to go in there and you have to make the NBA Finals. And this is honestly probably your best chance at winning the championship without Steph Curry. So I think they are, not only him, but also by proxy, the Suns are under a tremendous amount of pressure because they've shoved all their chips all in. And this is the year for them to do it if they're ever going to do it.
I have a question, kind of a follow-up with that. So obviously KD joins the Warriors and they win some rings and he gets a lot of shit for it. Do you think him joining the Suns, like you already said, they have a first-team All-NBAer from last year, Devin Booker. They have one of the greatest point guards of all time in Chris Paul. And they have a center who's a pretty young center who's taken actually a pretty big leap, I think, this year as well, in DeAndre Ayton. Do you still think that, like, if he wins – and I know he won't get as much shit as he did from when he was the Warriors, but do you think that'll, like, people will give him some love? Or do you think it's another example of him, like, joining another super team that just made the finals a couple years ago? Like,
I love that question. I love it because I have a very strong opinion on that. I think, first of all, I think people will find a way to hate Kevin Durant no matter what. So I think, yes, they will find a way to hate on Kevin Durant if he wins a championship. but I think it won't be deserved because for several reasons. One, Golden State had just won a title when he joined them. They were a super team. And he was not the best player on that team when he joined. Steph was, I mean, maybe they were talented about the same, but like Steph was the guy. He carried that franchise. He was the city's dude. He was a guy. Devin Booker, listen, I think Devin Booker is a great player. He is not on Kevin Durant's level. I don't think it's even a debate. So for me, I think if Kevin Durant's able to go in there and win the championship, it will be because of him. He will be that guy, and I think it will be deserved because, yes, they do have guys around them that are really strong players, but, I mean, honestly, like, in this time of the NBA, you pretty much need guys to be able to – you need another star. You need another all-star or two all-stars to win. Like, Giannis has the guys when he won last year, the whole Golden State run has been 3 all-stars or 4 all-stars. Like you don't just go, it'd be hard to win by yourself. I think if he had done it in Brooklyn, it would have been way more of an impact because he created that entire foundation. He's not walking into something. But I think Phoenix, I mean, they haven't even been good this year. Like they're not a team where it's like, yep, they just won a title. They're a huge threat. They're someone that people are not really that scared of, and then KD joins, and now everyone's terrified of them. And I think it's because of KD, and I think that's the difference. Is he is the X factor there.
And just to comment on that real quick too, because obviously I've seen a lot of KD the last few years since he's been in Brooklyn. I think the difference between Phoenix and Golden State is, like Michael pointed out, Steph Curry just came off a stretch of winning back-to-back MVPs, unanimous MVP, 73-9 season, and KD just blew a 3-1 lead to that team. So there was so much built up to that. Whereas Phoenix is struggling this year. KD, and what I will say the difference maker between KD, KD won those finals MVPs because he was the clutch factor in the finals compared to Steph Curry. But I think the difference between the Suns and the Warriors is, like you said, Michael, they don't have MVPs there. Devin Booker was asked that question and he's like, we don't even have an all-star this season, which is true, which I think is going to be the difference maker. So I think Kevin Durant has shifted the personality of most NBA fans since he went to Brooklyn. And now that he's in Phoenix, I don't think he's going to get that much hate, but I think he'll get the flowers if they do win.
Yeah, I think so too. I had him on my list for players that I think are under a lot of pressure. I think him and Kyrie both are now, especially their whole stint in Brooklyn with James Harden and James being the first one to leave. And going to Philly, and then Philly kind of being stagnant, they stay in the 3rd, 4th seed and then do nothing in the playoffs. And I think if out of the 3 of them, I think KD would be the first one to win a ring on their new team. But yeah, so I think Kyrie and KD both are under pressure, a lot of pressure.
Would you say those are your picks for the the players with the most pressure?
Nope, but I'll let you guys go first.
All right. Mitch, I'll kind of let you take the floor.
Yeah, so I have I have very similarly to KD, my top guy that I did players, and I can get to touch a team later too. But I think the player under the most pressure is Chris Paul. I mean, now he's got everything he needs to win a championship. He's never won one. He's been to the finals just one time in 18 seasons. And that window is closing quickly for him. I don't know how many more years he has left. We've obviously seen a pretty big decline from his gameplay this year to just 2 seasons ago. But I think with Ed Durant, with Ayton improving, with Booker getting healthy, this is the time that he needs to get a ring. So I think the most pressure right now would be on his shoulders.
Yeah, I think CP is when people think of this question, that is their number one answer, I think.
Yeah, I think
he wants to be considered one of the greatest point guards of all time, which talent-wise he is. But if he really wants to be considered, you have to win a ring,
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the tough part is I don't think he's anywhere near, obviously not near his prime, but I don't even know how that good he is. I mean, he's a good player, but
right.
He's maybe is he the 4th best player or is he the 3rd? I mean, I agree with you though. I think this is he has to get a ring if he wants to go down as one of them. And yes, even if it is in the twilight of his career, he's set up so perfectly. He's not even the type of player that needs to do all the offensive scoring. He just needs to facilitate and run the offense and do his role, and they can win a championship because he is a great leader as well.
And I think what's great is Chris Paul doesn't have that ego where he needs to be the factor to win. This is definitely the best team that he's ever had. And like you said, Mitch, his window is closing. Like, honestly, like, I would not be shocked if he retires after this year. Like, he's got maybe 1 year left in this window. So, yeah, I think Chris
Paul too. He's always injured.
Yeah, that's all very true.
Paul and KD like each other. Do you think they're going to gel very well? Like, I'm just curious because I feel like they're very strong personalities.
I honestly do. I think KD is going to fit so well in Phoenix. Like, I genuinely think if the chemistry and the health-wise align, like if everyone's healthy, I think the Phoenix Suns are going to like kill through the West. That's just my opinion.
What worries me with KD is like all the stuff that happened with Ayton last year, like, and his attitude and everything. I just don't know how well they will play like personalities mesh, you know, just because of like everything that happened last year. I mean, we saw the Suns get absolutely blown out by the Mavs in like whatever round that was, the second round or whatever.
Yep.
And then all the stuff that came out about Monty Williams and Ayton and all this stuff. And like Ayton is that guy for that, like for the Suns for a lot of the season. Like he has to be their center, their star. And with all that drama, I was so certain that he wasn't going to end up on the Suns this season. Like I was so certain about that.
He didn't even want to be there. Like he wanted to go to Indiana with Halliburton, but the Suns matched it. So that's a good point. I wonder how that's going to play a role. I feel like Ayton is going to like be humbled. I think Chris Paul and Kevin Durant are going to be like, shut up, go play basketball. Let's go win this ring. So we'll see.
Yep.
Great. So Mitch has Chris Paul under the most pressure. Michael's got KD under the most pressure. So the Suns with a lot of pressure. Gabby, I'll kind of let you take the floor, and then I'll kind of close it off where I think in terms of a player/team.
Okay, well, I think it's no secret that my team is under a lot of pressure as well. I think that preseason, literally every single media outlet was just the Clippers are winning. The Clippers are winning. If they don't win this year, it's over for them, blah, 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 which I can speak on behalf of all of like the Clipper fan base. We also see that and we also agree. This is like literally our only window to win a ring is this year and maybe next year. It was like last year or 2 years ago, before Kawhi got hurt, we were like on such a good trajectory to win, we felt, and then Kawhi tears his ACL. And then last year or 2 years ago, Paul George led us to the Western Conference Finals pretty much by himself. And now it's like everything has fallen in and out of place for the Clippers as far as like the Reggie Jackson trade, like kind of like getting rid of like dead weight in a way, and then like picking up John Wall, then trading John Wall, and then now we have Russ. Like I know so many people, especially Lakers fans, are just praying and praying and praying on the Clippers' downfall by picking up like Russ. I'm still optimistic. I think that Russ just like having like his relationship with like Paul George and like their dynamic already, and now adding Kawhi into the mix, I think that there's still potential, but I do think that there's like Paul George especially is under so much pressure, I think, from the media, from just fans. Not as much as Chris Paul, obviously, because I think PG probably still has another 4 or 5 seasons in him, but I think Kawhi and Paul George are under a lot of pressure to win. And I hate it, but I love it.
No, I to make a comment on that, I actually very much agree because I think they're under a lot of pressure in a different sense. Like I think very similar to Chris Paul, I think their window is slowly closing because if it's not this year, like who knows how good the West gets, right? Like maybe Kyrie leaves the Mavericks and goes to the Suns with Booker and KD. Like you never know what other super teams can form, but the West is wide open. Like Michael said earlier, LeBron is not the same LeBron anymore. He's not scary. Like there's so many, like the 3 and like the 10th seed are separated by like 3 games. So if you have a bad week, like the Clippers can go from the 4th seed to the 10th seed. You know what I mean? So like,
whoa. 12 seed Blazers, 3 games out of the 4 seed right now.
Yeah, right. Which they won't make, but like Michael said, like anything can happen. And I think with Kawhi, with Paul George, with Russ, with all these acquisitions they made in the trade deadline, Eric Gordon, Mason Plumlee, who's been pretty great, by the way. And you got Norman Powell, who's a sixth-man award nominee, which we didn't even talk about, but that's for another conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Clippers do have a lot of pressure because this might be their only year that they win. So yeah, I agree.
I mean, also, I don't know, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they traded away so many first-round picks, of course, for the Kawhi and for Paul George. So it's like they don't really have a future. So like this is their only window, and then they don't have another window till way down the hallway. You know,
I'm like 45.
Yeah, like way down there. So like they have to take advantage of this. And if somehow they pass by that window and they never get a ring, I mean, like Steve Ballmer, like it's just a failed experiment of trading everything for Kawhi and Paul George. Like they have to win it.
Yeah.
I think it would be so awesome if like we won a ring our first year in our new arena, but I also am like too impatient for that, and I'm like I don't want to wait because then what if it doesn't happen? And then it's like
It would be cool to hang up a banner as soon as you move.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the Clippers are like they're one of those teams where I just have no idea how to judge them. Like I won't bet on them probably because I just have no clue how they're going to perform in the playoffs. But they do have the pieces where, like, I think for me, like I actually like the Russell Westbrook addition, and I know that's like Gabby said, she's optimistic, and I think most people are probably just like shitting on it. But like I think the relationship with Paul George and also just like the way he fits the team. Like I watched the Kings game, he turned the ball over a ton, which is a problem. They need to get the ball out of his hands a little bit more, but when he does, like his athleticism there, like he is something that they don't really have a ton of, which is like the ability to just like fast break, take it to the rack. And I think I really like how he fits in there. I think he's a really good. I'm rooting for him, which is weird because I've never really been a fan of his, but I didn't like how he was treated on the Lakers as like a scapegoat just for the fact that AD and LeBron can't get it together. So it's blame Russell Westbrook. I think he's going to be motivated more than ever. And I think if you're ever going to add Russell Westbrook to your team, now's the time, especially in a rival of the Lakers. I think that's a really good addition. I think honestly, like the most pressure of all of them is probably Kawhi because I think he has to be like he has fallen off from that elite level. Is he even in the second tier of elite guys now? Like Paul George has never really been up there, but Kawhi has, and I feel like through the injuries, through missing games, resting, load managing, whatever, he needs to get back to the point where he is like a bona fide like top 6-7 guy in the NBA. And if he can get to there, if he went off against the Kings, if he can get to that point where he's actually able to do that night in, night out in the playoffs when it matters, then I think they could be a legitimate like them, the Suns, the Warriors. Like that's probably it. Like I don't think there's no other teams in the West where I'd be like I'm actually afraid of this team making the finals. So I think the Clippers have a lot of potential.
And I do want to comment because I will say when Kawhi has been healthy this season, the guy has been an absolute stud. Kawhi is one of those players to me where I don't worry about him unless he's not healthy. Like when he's healthy, like he had one of, if not the best championship run for a single player ever in 2019 with the Raptors. One and done, 1 year with the Raptors, won a banner for them and fucking dipped. Like that's insane. Like him and Dirk, in my opinion, best runs for a championship. So, like, Kawhi can get the job done. And not many people, I honestly, ever, like, only I really think Kobe, Jordan, maybe even Pippen are as great of a two-way player than Kawhi is. So, I think if Kawhi's healthy, that Clippers team is scary. Because Paul George is great. Like, I have high hopes for the Clippers. But like Gabby said, if they don't win this year, they're definitely under the most pressure to succeed.
Yeah.
There's just something about them where I just will never believe in them that they'll do it. I don't know what it is, but they just like always find a way to not do it. And I feel like, I don't know. I just, until proving otherwise, I can't sit here and be like, I think they're going to actually, this will be the year. But yeah, I think Kawhi can do it.
I was going to say, it's just the least wanted LA team effect. I mean, like the Chargers never get it done. The Clippers never get it done. It's just the vibe in LA.
this is very relevant side note. I'm so glad that Jordan was not here for when the fucking Chargers blew that lead, because when the Clippers blew the lead in the bubble in 2020, he broke our table, literally punched it and broke it. So I will send him. I have a video.
As he should. I think I'm a little bit different in terms of who I have under the most pressure. All the guys that you kind of named, or all the situations, are people whose windows are closing. I'm going to kind of be a little different. I think this one's kind of like chalk to talk about, but it's something I do want to talk about. I think the team under the most pressure, obviously, is the Memphis Grizzlies. Not because their window is closing. I think they have an ample amount of time in terms of 5 to 10 years. I just think that the way that Ja Morant, the way that Dillon Brooks, the way that these guys are talking to not only the media, but everybody in the league. Like, they just did an all-star interview, Ja Morant, Luka, Tatum, and Donovan Mitchell. And like Malika Andrews is like, Ja, are you still fine in the West? And he's like, yeah, I'm still fine in the West. So like, they have so much riding on them, because if they don't do well this season, which I don't think they will, everybody's going to be on their ass. Everybody's going to say that you guys are a failed experience. Everybody's going to say that, Ja, you're not fine in the West. Like, they're going to be the laughingstock of the NBA for the coming years. So if Ja wants his ego to still be at a high rate that it's at now, with people like Dillon Brooks, Desmond Bane, all those guys thinking they're as good as they are, they better hope to at least make the Western Conference Finals.
I find it so funny. Like, not only is it so arrogant to talk like that, but it's also just really stupid, because not only do you make other teams want to beat you more, but now you add this pressure to yourself. Like, let's say you're going down 0-2 in a series, like, you're going to be like shitting your pants, because now you're like, well, not only are we not able to, we're going to be the higher seed losing, but then also on top of it, like, we talked all this shit all year, and we're going to look like fools. And you just add that element of like extra pressure. Like you said, I think this is a great pick, because they've done it to themselves. It's not like they should have no pressure. There should be no pressure for the Memphis Grizzlies to do anything like right now.
A young, talented team that has like years to progress. Yeah.
It's just self-sabotage. And I think it's not going to work out. When you start doing that, it never works out. So
they essentially just told the whole league, fuck all you guys, come and get it. Like, why would you do that? It's like, it's not to bring Survivor into it, but it's like you having the hidden immunity idol, and you're just like, all right, I have it. Like, what are you guys going to do about it? Like, why would you fucking do that?
See, I think with like, for me, the reason I don't think, I mean, I guess they do have pressure, but like, I don't know if anyone really thinks they can do anything. Like, that's, and they're the 2 seed, which is like wild that they're the 2 seed, but I really, like, because another person who I kind of considered who has a lot of pressure to win is like LeBron. But I'm like, LeBron ain't winning shit. So he don't have, like, there's no pressure there. And I'm like, and I kind of thought about Memphis too, but I was like, Memphis ain't winning. They're just not. And so, and if Memphis ends up, 3 months from now winning the title, and Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant, Dillon Brooks find this podcast and just shit on all of us, then fine. But yeah, like, I don't know. I see them like first round exit maybe. I mean, because they might have to play like the Warriors or somebody like in the first round. Like, I'm good.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, me too.
I love that series.
I would love that too. Even though I'm not high on Golden State as much as I was last year, I think they're gonna do bad come playoff time. But I would root for them against the Grizzlies. So, like you said, the West is so close. Like, even though there's the 2nd seed, like, they might get matched up with the Lakers, who honestly are turning it around right now. But like you said, like, Lakers aren't doing shit.
Trash. I know you have a buddy that was on your podcast last time, bro. The Lakers are awful. They're terrible.
Yeah, the Lakers are bad.
Yeah, but
they
like,
should have lost today. Just saying.
And and they came. See, like, what if the Mavericks line up against the Grizzlies, or like the Clippers or the Kings or someone like?
Or a healthy Zion Pelicans.
It's over. Yeah.
Oh, I agree. I think the Western Conference playoffs is going to be fun. And the fact that Ja's like, I'm just worried about the Celtics. It's like, oh, well, buddy, you're not going to be there to see them. So
you got to get there first.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's been great. We kind of went through the first half NBA awards. We went through our NBA first team and the teams with a lot of pressure. I'm so excited that you guys were able to come on. Love the fact that you guys were on. But I'm kind of going to leave the floor open to you guys. Any final thoughts on the NBA upcoming second half of the season, or just anything you want to shout out? I don't know. The floor is yours. Dylan Brooks, aka Gabby, take it away.
So I love that you mentioned them at the end, Mitchell. But like the Pelicans, I think are a team to watch for sure. Like last year, their playoff run was so fun, and they're in my opinion, they're such a rootable team. Like Brandon Ingram and just like all of the whole team, honestly, I think is very rootable. But that is what I will end with. Is I will root for the Pelicans if they're in the playoffs.
All right. There's Gabby, a.k.a. Dylan Brooks, being positive. Something that Dylan Brooks doesn't do.
I forgot to change my name. My bad.
No worries. Devin Booker, a.k.a. Michael Brady, what do you have to say to wrap it up tonight?
I want to give some love to a team that didn't get a ton outside as a bonus. I think the Sacramento Kings are like my favorite team just to watch in general. I don't know what it was, but watching them on Saturday, like that was the most crazy NBA game I've ever seen in my life. And I just think that their philosophy of just like screw it, like all offense, like we don't care about defense because all that matters is if you can score more points than the other team, and they have been doing it. And the fact that they are the 3 seed is so insane to me. The Sacramento Kings are the 3 seed in the NBA right now in the West. Like that's not something I would have ever thought in a million years. So I think not only giving love to Sabonis, but someone like De'Aaron Fox that has been one of the most clutch players this season. Yep. And I think just the way they've surrounded that team with shooters everywhere, I think that their team chemistry is on fire, their fan base, there's something genuinely special going on there. And I think that they're going to be a team that's a higher seed, that is going to be the underdog in a playoff series in Vegas odds or whatever. And I'm still going to pick them because I think that they have it this year. I think they're going to win a playoff series. And yeah, other than that, the Lakers suck. I live with a Lakers fan, a LeBron fan. Lakers suck. I just want to say that I cannot watch another Lakers game. Please, no more primetime Laker games. That's all I ask.
Literally.
Okay? Hashtag
put the
like
teams on prime time.
Yes. I was gonna say hashtag like the beam. Mitch, I'll let you run it up like John Wall doing the dance. What do you have to say?
I've mentioned quite a few times I'm a Kentucky fan tonight, and I'm John Wall, I guess, personified right now. But I got to give some love that I'm tired of getting shit on this podcast from your buddies, who is Julius Randle. If he was off of your Knicks team would be garbage. And I know you love Jalen Brunson, but Julius Randle putting up 25 and 11 for y'all, getting no love from Knicks fans. I wish he would go somewhere where he's appreciated and get out of New York.
Yeah, Julius Randle, good guy. If he went to Houston, I wouldn't care because we have Jalen Brunson. But with that being said, Gabby, Michael, Mitch, it was so great to have you guys on today. It was a pleasure. With that being said, it's your boy, the man, the myth, the legend, RizGod, Riz God, baby. Signing off on the RizPod. That's me. Tune in for episode 9 if you haven't tuned into episode 8 or 7 or 6 or 5 or 3 or 2 or 1. Love you guys. Thank you guys. See you next time.